Hey everybody, Matt Scalogli here with SRP Medical Marketing, and today I want to talk to you about advancing through some adversity. At the time of this recording, it is very, very clear that many states and municipalities and cities are headed towards another round of shutdowns or quasi shutdowns or just more and more restrictions. And, if you're like me, I'm sick and tired of this stuff. Luckily, I live in a state in North Carolina where the restrictions are still not all that bad. But I know I have plenty of clients in Manhattan, in Chicago, in LA, in Texas, and other places around the country that are starting to see in Michigan and starting to see some more restrictions coming down. And for a lot of them, as I've talked to them this week, it's kind of like they're reaching their end, right? So what I want to do today is I want to talk to you about the skill set for advancing through adversity. Now, I need to let you know just a little bit of my own backstory. So I started my first business in 2004, my first real entrepreneurial venture in 2004, and it was in real estate. And it did great. We did really, really well. And then a little thing called the Great Recession hit. And it got really bad. Like every day was, you didn't even want to turn on the news because it was like another bad, like story. It was just relentless. It just kept going and going and going. And I wound up having to shut down that company and lost that company and had to go through a bankruptcy and all that other fun stuff. And it was really, really hard. It was a horrible, horrible 3-year time in my life. And I had 3 young kids and, wife and all that. And I want to share with you some of those lessons that I've learned. Okay. Now, these are lessons also learned just from years of reading. As many of you know, I'm technically a professional golfer, so I played competitively for quite a bit. And sometimes things just don't go your way, right? So here are 3 insights that I want to share with you on how to advance through adversity. And the first one is, do you have a growth mindset or a fixed mindset? So when you're going through difficult times, the tendency is to get really, really small, right? You take less risk, you tighten things up, you circle the wagons, right? And you hunker down. And that really only increases the speed of the death spiral. In these times, it's more important to have more of a growth mindset or an open mindset, right? Um, and a growth mindset is key is that, nothing is too hard. One of the things that I always look at it like, oh, I've had some clients who be like, oh, it's too hard for me to learn this lead generation stuff, or it's too hard for me to learn this marketing stuff. And my answer always is, you're a doctor, for God's sakes. You can learn this, okay? There's a process, same process that you learned how to prescribe medication, same process that you would go through to understand the basics and fundamentals of marketing. So you have to have this growth mindset. You can't just have a growth mindset, by the way, in one area of your life, because you certainly have a growth mindset when it comes to patient care. So we need to develop that growth mindset. And the other side is as well. Now you have to remember, here's the second thing, that failure is just feedback. It's just data. That's all it is. That's the second thing, is failure is just feedback. It's just data. If things don't work, it's not the end of the world. I have rarely ever seen a situation where something not working was the death knell for somebody, meaning their business may have to close, but the sun still comes up the next day. And so in this journey of being an entrepreneur, and this is really challenging for doctors, right? Because you're paid not to fail. Like failure means a malpractice lawsuit. And so you have to develop this other alter ego, if you will, of the entrepreneur who understands that failure is just part of the process. It's just about the step moving forward. That's all it is. And maybe failure is too big of a word because it has so many negative connotations. And certainly for many societies and cultures in this country, you're not allowed to fail at all. And some of that probably is rolling around in your head as well. But just remember that failure is just feedback. It's just data. It's not the end of the world. The third thing is that learn optimism. There's been many studies put out there about people who smile. And the bottom line is this, I won't share all the data and all the studies, but the bottom line is this, is the more you smile, the longer you live. Now, some of you may want to live much longer, but in reality is the more you smile, the longer you live. So you know what? Just smile. It's, again, it's not the end of the world. It's not an indictment on who you are as a doctor. It's not an indictment on who you are as a human being. I have yet to know of one person in life, specifically entrepreneurs, who don't go through a period of challenging, difficult times. And what they do is they learn more about themselves, right? They just learn more and more. Um, and then the final thing is, and I talked about this in the last video, is you have to visualize yourself growing. You have to be taking the time and visualize yourself. I meditate just about every day. In fact, I'll show you where I meditate. There's my red chair right over there. I don't know if you can see it. There you go. But that's my chair, and I meditate in that chair for 5 to 10 minutes a day. And what I do is I visualize success. I visualize my goal that I have for the quarter coming to reality. And the funny thing is that I've been doing this a long time, right? And I know this. And for about 3 months, I stopped visualizing. I'd had some business had grown really, really busy. I'd gotten really busy, and I stopped visualizing. And then I looked at my numbers. I'm like, wait a second, I haven't grown at all. My business is flat. And just the last couple of weeks, I've started visualizing, and we're bringing in more doctors. That's not a coincidence. So visualize the result that you want, right? You're visualizing something. Visualize the result you want. Don't visualize the result of the failure. Okay. So let's just go back through those. Have a growth versus a fixed mindset. Failure is just feedback, it's just data. Learn optimism. And most importantly, visualize yourself growing. You have yourself a wonderful day, folks, and keep your chin up. It's going to be all right. Talk to you soon.